Hey, I've had some people asking me how I make my gecko habitats. I'm not into big fancy cages, can't afford it, so I just use easy Sterilite containers, shoebox size for the smaller geckos and then the bigger tubs for the larger geckos. Today I'm going to show you what I do to just get one of these ready to put a little bugger into, and then you can see how it's finished up. What I've already done is to put some shims with some non-toxic adhesive on the bottom. They're all stuck together so that it stays nice and neat. Usually takes about 10 or 20 minutes or so for this to set. I've already set it. It should be pretty good to go. The next step is to put some holes into it so the gecko can breathe. Okay, now the next step we have is to put our air holes into our little container here. What I'm going to do is pop the top off of it right now just so that we can work with this. And get your wood burning tool. It's good and hot. Be very careful. Don't touch it. It's hot. It burns. It puts holes into things. So carefully, without injuring myself, I'm going to start putting some holes in here. I always like to put some at the top so that I can hang their vines, and then I'll put some around the sides as well as probably just leave the lid solid. I might put a couple in there. Who knows? I may feel frisky today. Make sure you have good ventilation for this because it is burning plastic, and I don't imagine that inhaling burning plastic is good for you. So, you kind of see what I'm doing. I probably didn't let my base dry long enough, but see what I'm doing here. I'm just putting air holes. They just burn right through into the top. I imagine this is pretty boring to watch, so you kind of get the point. Alright, as you can see now, we've got all of our holes put in, all through the back, down the sides, on what's going to be the top part, and then obviously our center is open there. So what we're going to do now is put our vines in to hang, since they are climbers. Basically just push up there. Up through there, and that will provide sufficient hiding space for the gecko. So now we're going to add some substrate, which I just use paper towels because it's easier to monitor so that I know if my geckos are pooping properly. And that's that. Then you can add your gecko. Okay, so now we're ready to put our gecko inside, and we've got our bowl of water. Don't make it a big bowl because these little geckos can't swim. The big geckos can't swim either. So just a small bowl, something that they can sit and soak in just a little bit when they're shedding. Kind of just helps out with some of the humidity in the cage. That is more than sufficient. Another thing to remember is make sure you're using chlorinated water. Don't use just straight tap water because there's all kinds of crap in there and not good for your gecko. So the last thing we're going to do before we put our little girl in is we're just going to give it a quick mist just to add a little humidity in there. Girl out. Now, as you can see, she's just a really tiny little one. So she doesn't need a whole lot of space right now. Anything too big for these guys, and then they have a hard time finding their food. And we don't want her to do that. We want her to grow and get bigger and stronger and more beautiful. So we want to make sure that she can find her food readily. So now we're just going to take her and put her into her new house. There you go, grab on. There you go. And there she is. Just as a final note, you can kind of just see how everything is set up. Most of these are just taller rather than wide. There you can see the new one that we just finished. And she's probably already hiding all up in that brush, which is good because that's what she's supposed to do. And these guys could probably use a little bit more cover. I gotta work on that. But the bigger geckos and then the pairs are usually in the bigger tubs, and this is the big male's tank. That's his big one. So that's it. Hope this helps.